Hey, welcome back. So today I'm going to be talking about my history medically and about why I named my channel Alexa's Journey, to give you all a little bit of why am I already crying? Oh my god. Whew. Anyways, so in August of 2012, I was turning 9 at the time, and I was going through a shit ton of excruciating pain. I'm talking the worst pain I had ever felt up until that point, obviously. It was everywhere, but mostly in my left leg above the knee, so in my femur. It was mostly bone pain. It was very achy, very pinchy, pins and needles. Sometimes it felt like I was being stabbed by a knife in my leg repeatedly over and over and over again. So, the week of my birthday, which is August 5th, I was at my mom's friend's cottage for my birthday. So, that entire week, I had been really sick, high fevers, lots of pain. It was so bad. So that week goes by, excruciating pain. I get home, we left the cottage, so we get home from the cottage, and I go to my nearest hospital, which is Orangeville Hospital, where I was born. I wait in the emergency room for hours and hours on end. I finally get into a room. They do some blood tests and like a physical exam of my leg, and they're like, "You're growing." That's it. They're like, "You have an elevated white blood count, but other than that, you're having growing pains." So they're like, "You're growing. That's it, that's all. We can give you some crutches, stay off your leg. It'll stop in a bit." Okay, whatever. We get sent home, still a little bit iffy about what the pain is. They think I'm just growing. So I get crutches. I'm on crutches at school. Like, I'm in grade 3 at this point. Like, I'm at school. Our school luckily did have an elevator. It goes by, I don't know how much, but I go to my family doctor. My family doctor wasn't there, so I see the doctor that's in for him, and the doctor goes, "Go to Sick Kids," which is the children's hospital here where I live in Canada. It's one of the biggest ones. It's in Toronto. And he goes, "Go to Sick Kids, go to the emergency room." He's like, "You'll get seen faster than any other hospital because it's a children's hospital, and they're quick there. Like, they are snappy." And we're like, okay. So we pack up, we go to Sick Kids, we get to the emergency room. They do a bunch of testing, and they're like, after a bunch of testing and stuff, they're like, "Don't panic, but come back, go to the 8th floor, and go to the hematology oncology clinic." 9-year-old me, I don't know what oncology or hematology is. I'm like, okay, whatever. But my mom knows that oncology is cancer. Hematology is like blood. So we come back to Sick Kids, we go to the hematology clinic, we get registered. We do a bunch of testing. We do P tests, CAT scans, MRIs, like the whole shebang. I did a bone marrow biopsy and aspiration, which is where they take a big thick needle and they stick it like right at the back, like near your tailbone, but a little bit higher, right where that bone is in your back. So they stick it in there, one on one side, one on the other. They take out a bit of the bone marrow, and there's another, and like the blood in the bone marrow, whatever, like all that stuff. And they test it. It comes back not good. So what also came back not good was my P test. It had elevated markers in it, but I don't know what exactly they are. For my cancer, I didn't know this at the time, but for my cancer, there's certain markers that kind of like set off red flags that are like, if they're high, like not good. So a little bit of time goes by, we get the results. I'm in a room, I'm staying at the hospital at this point, whatever. My doctor comes in and he goes and he tells us that I have stage 4 neuroblastoma. And you may be thinking, what the hell is neuroblastoma? I've literally never heard that word in my life. And here's why. Neuroblastoma is a rare childhood cancer. It's a type of cancer that forms in certain types of nerve tissue and most frequently starts from the adrenal glands but can develop in the neck, chest, abdomen, or spine. May include bone pain, lumps in abdomen, neck, chest, or painless, blushes, like reddish lumps under the skin. So the way cancer staging works is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, least to worst. So stage 1 is like not, obviously all cancer is horrible, but stage 1 is like the easiest to deal with. I had stage 4, which is the highest stage. So we find out after doing a test called an MIBG scan that I have it head to toe, bones, organs, it is literally everywhere. It has taken over my body. My bones are cancer-riddled little pieces of calcium at this point. They are nothing but just cancer cells. Like, it was crazy. I also had a tumor on my left adrenal gland above my kidney, and so they're like, shit. And me and my mom started bawling our eyes out. I don't remember, I think my stepdad and my dad were there too. Bawling our eyes out, crying. Like, I'm 9 years old and I just figured out that I have cancer. Like, anybody would cry. We were bawling our eyes out. It was horrible. Like, I just remember being so upset. And that's where my journey started. So we got a plan, and I got put on a plan. I got assigned to Purple Pod in the clinic, which I was talking about earlier. There's in the clinic, in the back of it, there's like different pods. There's blue, orange, purple, and green. And there's like different cancers at each one, different staff, different doctors. I get assigned to Purple Pod, and my doctor's name is Dr. Baruchel. I also have, I think she's a nurse, or I'm not really sure. Anyways, her name is Denise. So I love them. I love them so much. Dr. Baruchel is literally the best man alive. He is a genius. He was like a father to me, and I say was because he retired. He did not die. Thank God. That man was like a father to me. I loved him so much. Denise is still on my case, which I will get to soon. So I do rounds of radiation. I think it was 8 or 9 rounds of chemo, and a round of chemo is about a week to a week and a half stay in the hospital. That's if there's no complications, no fevers, things like that. When you go through a chemotherapy treatment and you're in the hospital for a week, towards the end of the week, if you get fevers in like the beginning of the week, it's okay. Excuse me, I have hiccups. But if you get them in the end of the week, if it's Friday and I'm done my treatment and it's Saturday, I get to go home. If Friday I get a fever, I have to stay for another 24 hours. So fevers are not good. They are not good to have. You do not want to have a fever. So basically, it was a bunch of chemo, radiation, and some other things, like a lot of bone marrow biopsies and aspiration. This was those things with the needles I was talking about earlier. I do remember one time though, I was having treatment, and the way the hospital rooms are set up are a little bit weird. So the door is near the bed, and the washroom's kind of like on a diagonal from that, and then there's like the parent bed. So basically, me and my mom were sitting on the parent bed couch thing, and I was just eating a bowl of grapes. I had my IV pole hooked up to me, and the bed, like the parent bed, is right across from the bathroom. So my mom stood up. She's like, "I gotta piss." I'm like, "I ain't cool. Go take a pee." And I'm like, she gets in there, and I'm like, "Oh, mom, like I gotta pee too." So like I stand up, and that's all I remember is standing up. I wake up in my bed across the room with like 20 doctors surrounding my bed, being poked and prodded at. I'm like, "Yo, stop touching me. What the hell is going on?" They're like, "You passed out." So I guess I stood up and I literally just dropped. I fell and I hit my head on the ground, and my mom told me this. She's like, "I came out and I saw you lay," and I was sorry. She's like, "I was sitting in the bathroom and I was calling your name. I was like, Alexa, 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 and you didn't answer. So I came out and I saw you laying on the ground, and your eyes were kind of rolling back in your head. So I called the nurses in, and so then I woke up on my bed with all the nurses around me, and I was like, "What happened?" They're like, "You passed out," and I was like, "Oh my god." So basically, what happened was my red blood cells were really low. Those are like the thing. There's red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, plasma. All these things are the things that make up your blood. The red blood cells have like all the nutrients in them that keep your body healthy and keep it going. So I guess I was really low on those. So when that happens, you get really tired and like you start to feel very like fatigued and like just not like drowsy and like just really sleepy. So that happened, and when I stood up, like sometimes if you stand up, you get really dizzy. It was like that, but I just passed out. So that was kind of like really scary for me, but it was like I vividly remember it. It was so weird. I also, not to mention, dropped my damn grapes on the ground. Just throwing that out there. Anyways, so time goes by. I've had my treatment now, radiation. I go in for my surgery. So we were told the tumor sat on my adrenal gland above my kidney. We were told that it would be about a 8-hour surgery, and that it was most likely that they were going to have to take up my kidney with the tumor. So we get through, I think it was at the 6-hour mark, my surgeon, not a nurse, not the doctor, the actual surgeon doing the surgery, comes into the waiting room. And remember, my mom was told it would be an 8-hour surgery. He comes out at the 6-hour mark. And usually when the actual surgeon comes out, it's not good news. Or it's them saying they're in recovery. But they only come out to say usually they're in recovery after that mark you were told about how long the surgery would be. So at the 6-hour mark, my surgeon comes out of my surgery and goes to speak to my mother. She told me, as soon as I saw the surgeon, my heart dropped because she thought something had happened to me. But they flawlessly did the surgery. I kept my kidney, and it was only 6-hour surgery. So I'm waiting in the recovery room. Like the doctor's like, "Okay, like you can go see her." My dad and my mom are waiting in the recovery room. I'm starting to slowly wake up, and I don't really. Oh, okay. I do. I remember waking up, and I have a scar on my hand somewhere, right here. I think you can kind of see it. I had a giant ass needle in my hand. The entire wow, my veins are very like popping today. I had a giant ass needle in both of my hands. I have a scar on this hand too, right, like there. Because they were in for 6 hours and they were huge ass needles. They're in my arm or whatever. So, yeah. So basically, I wake up, I'm kind of nauseous. I think I ate something, like some crackers or something. But that's all I really remember about my surgery. Another thing I did forget to mention is I'll show you my scar. So these little scars right here go with this scar right here on my neck. I'll tell you about this one after. But this one is on like my boob, kind of. It's like above. And there's like at least like 6 of those little things right there. And what happened is I had a thing called a CVL, which is a central venous line. It's a line, I'll try to insert a picture of it. It's a line that goes in, up, and down into my carotid artery. And it goes straight directly to your heart. So the tube goes in through my chest, up underneath the skin, and into the carotid. And it would dangle out. It's one line, and then it splits into 2 about like halfway down by my rib cage. And that is the way that I got all my chemotherapy, because then I didn't have to be stabbed with a needle constantly. It would be heparinized, salined, and locked. It would be salined, heparinized, and locked. Did that the wrong way. And every single day, both sides. And basically what that is I had 6 syringes. I had 2 empty ones, 2 with saline, which is basically like a saltwater solution, and 2 with heparin. Heparin is like a blood clotting preventative. Like people with like blood clots come in a habit to like, it's like a blood thinner. So basically what you do is you take the empty 10 ml syringe and you withdraw about 5 mils of blood from one end. Then you take the saline and you push it through. Then you take the heparin and you push that through. And that flushes it out so no blood clots get stuck in the tube because it's really small. It flushes it out and then it locks it so that no blood clots happen over the next 24 hours. It had to be flushed every 24 hours. Then you do the same side to the other tube. And my mom didn't want anything to do with my line when I first got it, but then we had a traumatic experience where we got a home care nurse to come to my house and flush out my lines. And us being new to this whole thing, we didn't know that you couldn't use anything less than a 3 ml syringe on these lines. And the way the syringe pressure works is the bigger the needle, the bigger the syringe, so like they have like 60 ml syringes, the smaller amount of pressure there is. The smaller the syringe, the bigger amount of pressure there is when pulling out. So the home care nurse used a 1 ml syringe when you can only at the most max use a 3 ml syringe. I didn't know this. My mom did not know this. She tried to pull out the blood with a 1 ml syringe and she's like, oh, it's not working. And we're like, oh, okay, like, can we just empty one of these saline syringes and use that? And she's like, sure, like, that'll work. So we did that, and blood came out fine. We did both sides, okay? And then a couple hours later, right here where the line exited the skin, it started to ooze and kind of, like, drip, like blood. It was, like, watery almost. And we're like, this is definitely not normal. So I went to my satellite hospital, and a satellite hospital is the hospital closest to you that's like kind of like a check-in place. So I went there, and I met Lisa and Leslie. I love them so much. They're nurses that worked there in the little satellite center part. So I went there and they're like, oh, we're going to send you to Sick Kids for a linogram. They knew what had happened. And they're like, oh, we're going to send you to Sick Kids for a linogram. So a linogram is where they inject a fluid into the tube and then they like have like a little camera or like x-ray thing or something like that. And what they do is they inject it and they watch, and what happened is I could see the screen. I was not asleep for this. when they injected like the water stuff, you could see it like squirting out. So the nurse popped a line, popped a hole in my line inside my body. So when she used that tiny syringe, it popped it because it was too much pressure. Anyways, I had to get that pulled out and then put another one back in. Hence, that was my fourth little dot right here, or right here somewhere, wherever it is. Right here. So yeah, we did that. Got a new line. Super fun. After that experience, my mom learned how to do all the home care line stuff, and eventually, after about like a half a year of doing it every single day, my mom didn't do it anymore. I did it. I flushed my own lines. I pulled blood from my own body. I know. And yeah, that was my daily thing. Like, I brought those syringes anywhere I went. I wanted to have a sleepover with a friend. You're bringing your syringes with you. You wanted to go out. You're bringing your syringes with you. Like, it was an essential. They went everywhere with me. Crazy. I know. This other scar here we'll get into soon. This one's actually my newest one. So basically, after a lot of chemo, radiation, the surgery, more chemo, whatever, I was declared cancer-free. I was turning 10, and I had this huge-ass 10th birthday because my mom was like, you are cancer-free, you're turning double digits, let's have a huge party. And I'm talking, I invited all the grade 4s and all their parents and my entire family. There was literally like 100 kids there, plus parents, plus family. Like, it was a huge party in my aunt's backyard. She's a huge party out in the country. So, like, my birthday cake was 3 tiers. Like, it was crazy. Whatever. I'm not going to go into too much detail because it's just a birthday party like yours. Anyways, I turned 13. Just before I went into grade 8, I had found out that I relapsed. I, at that time, made a different YouTube channel, which is still up. I'll link it in the bio. It's still there. Cringy as hell, though. I, in one of my videos, shaved my head in my garage after dyeing it purple. I dyed it purple and then shaved it off. It was crazy. That video has 12K views as of right now. Like, that is some crazy-ish. And then once you relapse once from neuroblastoma, there's no protocol. It's just throw caution into the wind and hope for the best. I think I did more chemo, and this thing called immunotherapy, which causes tremendous amounts of pain. I'm talking the worst pain I have ever felt in my life. I don't exactly remember how immunotherapy works, but all you need to know is it was weeks on weeks on weeks on weeks on weeks of being in the hospital with my IV pole stacked with machines, sometimes 3 at a time. I had morphine, hydromorphone, ketamine, any drug you could think of. That issue was going through my system because of how much pain I was in. I was on Ativan, which chilled me out. Like, I was on everything you could think of. I was having it. And don't even get me started on nausea. Like, it's gross, but I am a puking pro. Like, I've perfected the art of throwing up because of this treatment. Not just this one, but this one in particular was so rough on me. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. So, like, I was on this thing called dexamethasone. I think that's it. There's another one that starts with a D, but I cannot remember it. Puke meds. I was on anything that would make me not throw up. I went back into remission just before I started grade 9, so it was a whole year of fighting again. I got another line that time, and then yeah, I was fine for a year. The thing about being cancer-free with neuroblastoma is you have a 5-year window. It's from when you are declared cancer-free. 5 years, you have to stay cancer-free. If you, after that 5 years is up, you have a slim chance of relapsing. But within that 5 years, it's like a 50% chance of relapsing, pretty much, maybe even more. And that brings us to right now. Right now, it is September 20th, 2018. It's been 6 years since I first got diagnosed. I've relapsed twice. And I found out a week ago, almost a week ago tomorrow, that I relapsed and that I am now in grade 10, I'm 15, and I have cancer again, which is not fun. I didn't want to cry, but now I'm crying. It really sucks because I've lost so much because of it. I've been through hell, and like I've missed so many parties and hanging out with friends. I've grown so distant from close friends because I can't see them at school every day. It's really hard. And like also the whole being bald thing is really hard, and like it's just not fun. Like it's really hard on me being a teenage girl, and it's back. I've been clear for 2 years now, but there's nothing I can do about it. Like, I kind of knew it was gonna happen. Like, it's just my luck, Basically, how I found out that it came back was the past 3 weeks, my arm has been going numb randomly, and then it started to hurt, and it was a bone pain, and I knew, I subconsciously knew that, hey, I've relapsed. It sucks. But I didn't want to believe it. I mean, what kid would want to believe that their cancer has come back? I mean, nobody in their right mind would want that. So it's last Thursday, I'm in class and I text my mom and I tell her that pain, that numbness in my arm, which we thought was just a pinched nerve, has become a pain in my bones. And she goes, okay, I'll call the hospital. I'm like, okay. So, it's Friday morning. I go to the hospital. I see my doctor. I do P-test. I do blood work, whatever. I do a physical exam, whatever. My doctor, I'm talking to that Denise girl I mentioned. I have a new doctor now, Dr. Morgenstern, because Dr. Baruchel, he retired. God bless his soul, I love him. I now have Dr. Morgenstern. Great guy also, great doctor. He's like, we're gonna schedule an MRI. Okay, I'm a little bit nervous. People typically wait up to 6 months to a year to get an MRI, so I got one in 1 day, which is crazy. So it's now 11:30, and he's like, we're gonna schedule an MRI. I'm like, okay. I'm kind of freaking out. I'm kind of having a temper tantrum because I didn't want to be there. I was planning on going that Friday night to my best friend Tegan's cottage, and I needed to be home by 3 o'clock because that's when we were leaving, and I knew that if we got an MRI, I was not getting home at that time, that it just was not happening. So I'm freaking out, one, because I'm claustrophobic I'm claustrophobic, like I will cry my eyes out. And I'm yelling at my mom about this. I'm like, I'm claustrophobic, blah, blah. She's like, shut up and listen to me. And I'm crying because she's yelling at me and I'm trying to tell her something. And I'm like, Mom, I'm claustrophobic. She's like, no, you're not. You've already had an MRI once, blah, blah. I'm like, Mom, I wasn't claustrophobic before. I'm claustrophobic now. And so they're also like, you're going to have to take all your piercings out. And right now, I don't have a piercing. But if you look right there, I had a nose ring and I had a cartilage piercing that I got that cartilage piercing done 4 weeks ago, and I got this done last year. So like, you're gonna take all of your piercings out, and I started bawling my eyes out because I didn't want to take them out. As you could see, they're not in because I couldn't get them back in, which we'll get to after. My mom's like, okay, I'm leaving the room. Have your little cry and come out when you're done. We'll go get food. I'm pissed at her at this point. Everybody leaves the room. Denise comes back in. She's like, if you want, so you're not freaking out in the MRI, we will give you Ativan, which is like a sedative that calms you down. I'm like, okay, thank you. So that was the plan. We go, me and my mom, I go out. I apologize for yelling at her. She apologized for not listening to me. We work it out. Then we go for dinner. We go for lunch. I get sushi. She gets something else. And at this time, I had just gotten my IV in. So I had an IV in my arm, which I can show you. I had it in for so long that it actually bruised me. Let me see if I can get this to focus. So if you look, it actually bruised me because it was in for so long. And so I get sushi. She got like some soup or something, I don't know. And it's like 12:30 now. We go back up to the clinic and we wait. At around 4:30, they call us down. They're like, yeah, go do the MRI. It's the MRI area is in the basement of the hospital. So we go to get my Ativan. I take it. Keep in mind, right now it's about 4:30. I go down to the MRI place and we check in, and my mom's like, is there someone here that can help us take out her nose and her ear piercing? And the lady at the desk's like, yeah, sure, we'll find someone. Because me and my mom can't do it. My mom also has long nails. That's where I got the addiction of getting long nails from, was my mom. And it's really hard. Also because my right arm is my dominant arm, and I can't bend it because I had that needle in, so I'm walking around like this. So that was also a problem. So, as I was saying, I had that needle in my arm, so I couldn't bend it at all, which was a problem. So, I couldn't like help get the piercings out, and so we're like, hey, cool, someone can help us take them out. So we sit down, the lady comes over, she gives me pink scrubs, and I'm like, she's like, here, put these on. I'm like, okay. So I go to the bathroom. I had to have my mom help me change because I couldn't get my arm out of my sweater that I was wearing because it was really tight. So I get into these scrubs because I can't have metal on. And the doctor comes, he comes and gets us. He's like, you need to take those piercings out. And we're like, okay, like, can someone come help us? He's like, no, like, the doctors are not authorized, or the nurses are not authorized to help you take those out. You have to do it on your own. And I'm already like, what? So for the next 45 minutes after that, my mom and me were both, this cartilage piercing was mainly the only problem. The nose one I take out quite a lot to clean, but this one was brand new, it's fresh, and it was stuck. And it hurts, obviously, because it's brand new. So we were yanking at it, pulling at it, anything we could do to try and get it out. It was not working. Long story short, got the nose piercing out, whatever. I knew I wasn't getting it back in because I was leaving it out for an hour and a half. It was going to close because I already had problems with the nose piercing. I knew that it was going to close. I was like, whatever. I kind of wanted to get this side pierced anyways instead of this side, so I was like, okay, whatever. But this one was pissing me off because I just got it. It's brand new. Just spent $70 on that cartilage piercing just to have to rip it out of my ear. So I'm hella mad at this point. I'm like, I am livid. I just want to go home. So I'm bawling my eyes out at this point. My mom's yelling. She's angry. She's like, I just want to get it out. We're not leaving. We stayed here all day. We are not leaving without the damn MRI. Like, whatever. I'm also crying because at this point it's 7 o'clock and I was supposed to be home by 3, okay? 3 o'clock so I could go to my best friend's cottage for the weekend. My mom's like, don't cry. I'll bring you up tonight, or I'll bring you up in the morning. It's a 3-hour drive to get there. So I'm like, okay, that's okay. That's fine. I want to go up there as long as he'll drive me. That's okay. But I'm also bawling my eyes out because people have been yanking on my face, and by people I mean my mom has been yanking on my ear for a good hour now. And so we finally get a nurse to help us. She wasn't supposed to, but she did, and that did nothing. My mom's like, she talks to the nurse and she's like, can we get someone from emergency to come down and cut it out? So that's exactly what she did. She called up and 2 guys volunteered from the emergency room to come down and cut it out of my ear. They get these giant ass scissor things, I don't even know, like metal cutter scissor things, and they cut the ring out of my ear. It hurt so much. So all the metal's out of my body, and it's go time. It is MRI time. I'm bawling my eyes out. And I took my Ativan at 4:30. It's now like a good 7 o'clock. So let's just safe to say the Ativan is no longer in my system, and I am not calm or collected. So we go in. They lay me down in the MRI bed, and they put this cage over my body, and I'm freaking out because I'm getting claustrophobic. And then where it gets real bad and I start to cry is when they put the cage over my head. So I'm like, hey, I'm exhausted. I'm going to try and go to sleep. I'm freaking out. I'm just going to sleep. So I close my eyes. I have these giant ass headphones on because MRIs are super loud. So I do the whole scan. Everything was okay. I get out of the scan. I have the IV in my arm still. And I go wait in the waiting room. My doctor comes in. The look on my doctor's face, I knew I had relapsed. I kind of already knew, but I knew. I'm like, I know that look. That is not a good look. It's back. Here it is. I know exactly what he's going to tell us, and I don't want him to tell us. He walks in, and he goes, there's a mass near your left shoulder blade, which is where the pain is. I didn't cry. I was angry. I just wanted to yell. My mom didn't cry really either, but I could tell she was upset. She was disappointed. She was cursing for me because I didn't want to yell and say the swear words in front of her and my doctor. And he's like, there is a 99.9% you have relapsed because of your history. I do believe, and I believe it too because of the pain I was having, that you have relapsed. So I had to process that. We call my dad, we tell my dad, I tell my best friend, and yeah. And so that was a week ago. Today we're back for the tests to see if it's just there or if the cancer has spread from my body all over again like it did the last 2 times. So that's where I'm at right now, and that's everything I wanted to tell you guys so that you guys know. And that's the reason why I named this channel Alexa's Journey, because it's the 3rd time, and I figured I tried to do the whole YouTube thing once before. I wasn't really committed to it, but I am now. So this channel will be a lot of vlogs at the hospital and makeup looks and just whatever, my daily life shit. I don't know. I'm not a YouTuber. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But yeah, that's everything. So thanks for watching and watching me cry, which is really embarrassing. But yeah.